it didn't work, or they're just the side effects were intolerable. So now they're turning to the natural health community, and they end up at this naturopathic doctor's office. And so the naturopathic doctor, he or she thinks, I can solve this problem easily. This is a no-brainer. This person is really suffering. I'm going to be able to solve this suffering. And now the ethical dilemma kicks in. To do so, they have to break the law. And so some naturopathic doctors, they send the patient away to suffer, and they uphold the law. And the reason they do that is because they're afraid of getting punished by Health Canada. Okay? It's easy to understand, and especially, you know, if Bill C-51 or something like that passed, it's really easy to understand. But do you understand it's stressful when the state is going to attack you for doing something? But some naturopathic doctors, they see the patient who suffers and they choose to alleviate the suffering and break the law. And I actually, that warms my heart. Like that's what I want them to do. But they live in fear. They're worried because they know they're breaking the law and they could run afoul of Health Canada. Now, isn't there a problem when people like naturopathic doctors have to worry about treating patients with products that any individual in the United States can just go to Walmart and buy? Like, do you see the problem? Like, yeah, I guess that's why you're here, isn't it? And we need a lot more people to kind of start waking up. And the thing that really bothers me is this is all in theory being done for our safety. And whenever the government tells you something's being done for your safety, you should just run, right? Because it's the mechanism they use to get you to agree to give up your freedom. I mean, we saw it after 9/11, right? You have these terrorist attacks, people are in legitimate fear, and they pass laws that just give away your privacy and rights writ large. And you can't resist it. You can't resist it. Just imagine that you actually believe that your children are in danger, okay? So let's say you're convinced your children are in danger. Is there anything you wouldn't do to protect your kids? I mean, I'm a male, we're trained, you're supposed to give your life for your kids if you have to. I mean, we're trained to do that. We're certainly going to give up some freedoms to protect our kids. You can't resist it. So whenever the government wants to take away a freedom, it's almost always safety. So we're being told this is for our safety. It's funny, I have an access to information request into Health Canada because I just thought, okay, Canadians demanded increased access to natural health products. We have these regulations which can only restrict access. I mean, if you want to increase access, you don't make things illegal and then require a whole bunch of hoops to be jumped through to stay on the market. So they're bringing in these regulations that are going to take away, in my estimation, 3/4 of the products. I would like to think they had a risk analysis, right? Like, let's say we're Health Canada. We don't have unlimited budget. Let's say we get $1 billion a year. We've got to keep Canadians safe. Well, you think what we do is we say, well, okay, we have all these different categories. Let's do risk analyses and then put our dollars where the biggest risks are. I mean, that's what we do. So you think with natural health products, they come out with these draconian regulations. Surely to goodness they did a risk analysis. Well, they didn't. Ask your MP, ask Health Canada. They did not look at natural health products as a group, identify the amount of risk, and then draft regulations that were appropriate for the risk. Did you know that? There's no risk analysis, but you're being told it's for your safety. It's funny, the Fraser Institute did a report called A Cure Worse Than the Illness by Cynthia Ramsey, where basically she looked at the risk and said, this is insane. There's hardly any risk to natural health products, and yet they're going to quash them and take them away in the name of safety. She thought it was just madness. There's a manufacturer in Canada who hired a risk analysis person, a Professor Ron Law. He's a professor in New Zealand. He's a risk specialist. And he used Canadian government statistics to just identify, well, how risky are natural health products compared to other things? And did you know, as a Canadian, you are more likely to be bitten by a shark than harmed by a natural health product? It's true. You're way more likely, like dramatically more likely to be struck by lightning. And in fact, in all of our history, so let's go back to Confederation, 1867. So for 143 years, I'm not aware of a single death caused by a natural health product. Now, I always tell people risk is relative, right? When the government's saying something's risky, take a step back and say, okay, you're telling me it's risky, but risky compared to what? Like, give me something to compare it with, right? And I love the peanut butter example because it resonates. We all know that people in Canada die every year from eating nuts. So, I mean, I have 3 kids. The last one just went into high school this year, but for all of the elementary years, we could not send peanut butter sandwiches to the elementary school. Why? Because peanut butter kills people. Shellfish kill people. We have allergic reactions to shellfish, and some of us die. And that happens yearly. So we have 143 years, not a single death caused by a natural health product. We have every year deaths caused by peanut butter. Which is more dangerous? Do you know, I mean, it's a scientific statistical fact, peanut butter is more dangerous than all of the natural health products.
You know what?
So, no, just hang on. Let me finish and we'll have questions after. But it's just, it kind of makes it insane, doesn't it? But that's actually only looking at part of the picture. Here's where it really gets sick. Is Health Canada, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know we're going to lose the majority of our products. Okay, if we're going to take literally tens of thousands of products away from tens of millions of us who rely on them, don't you think we should ask, is it safe to do that? Like, Canadians are using these products for health things. Is it safe to take products away that people are using to manage their health? Like, aside from the freedom issues and does the state own your body or does you? I mean, that's how I got involved in this stuff. When I actually my first introduction to this, I acted for Health Canada against a herbalist. Okay, the herbalist was importing herbs into Canada, perfectly legal to own, and Health Canada seized them at the border because they just hated this guy because he sold these heart drops and they weren't licensed. And so the law firm I was at got hired to defend Health Canada, and I got the file, and I had his thing thrown out of court. And forgive me, because I was in the mainstream paradigm. Okay, like when I grew up, we just went to medical doctors, and I'm not even knocking medical doctors. I've had tremendous luck, but just the idea of going to, you know, a naturopath or something was foreign. And the idea, and this is the mainstream thinking, the idea that we could allow unlicensed products to be sold, products that aren't approved by Health Canada, that just seemed really reckless to me. Okay, I mean, I didn't understand. Well, just wait a second. So you mean you can have naturopathic doctors with, like, you know, 40 years of training and experience, and some, you know, 25-year-old Bachelor of Science grad in Health Canada who has no health training, and he or she refuses a license? So, you know, all these naturopathic doctors can't use that treatment anymore? Like, that doesn't make sense to me now, right? Like, that's what's happening. But back then, it didn't make sense to me because I bought into the mainstream paradigm, right? But then what happened is that herbalist got charged with practicing medicine without a license because in BC, the act that gives doctors their medical monopoly says only doctors can practice medicine, and the practice of medicine includes making treatment claims. And this guy made treatment claims. He said he could cure heart disease with his heart drops. In fact, he drove around with a white van with big red letters, "We cure heart disease." I mean, it was it was in your face. And so he hires me, and then he educated me. Because I looked at the file and I thought, we're going to go down in flames, because the act says you can't make these claims. Not only did they have him dead to rights, his promotional material and, you know, his van, but he was just so passionate about it that what would have happened if I put him on the stand, I know it. He would have been, imagine this old herbalist in the witness box, and you got an old judge. Back then in Kamloops, they were all old guys. And for sure the judge would have, you know, crow's feet on his ears. And I know this herbalist would peer up at the judge, and he'd point at the guy's ears, and he'd say, "Your Honor, you have heart disease. You need my heart drops." I mean, I know that would have happened. So there was no point even trying to defend him that way, right? So I had to come up with some other way. And what I realized is we've got an act that says you can't make treatment claims, even truthful ones.